This lesson is on multiplying polynomials. If you see an example below that is similar to the current question you're working on, you can download my app referenced in the video caption and use it to quickly navigate all of my Math 10 lessons and examples. So you can use it to go directly to the example shown below if there's a specific one you want to look at first. So multiplying polynomials, we've done this a bit in previous lessons already, multiplying two binomials, but now we're going to introduce trinomials. We use the distributive property, which basically just means multiply every term in one bracket by every term in the other bracket. It's the same as foiling, except we'll now look at examples that have a trinomial. As I mentioned, foiling only applies to multiplying two binomials. Example 1, expand and simplify 5x minus p squared. So you actually already know how to do this if you know how to FOIL. The one trick here to remember, not really a trick, but just remember 5x minus p squared in expanded form is just 5x minus p multiplied by itself. And now you can FOIL this, and you'll get 5x times 5x is 25x squared. 5x times minus p is minus 5px. Minus p times 5x is minus 5px, and minus p times minus p is p squared. Now simplify. So in this case, it just means to collect the like terms, these similar terms. So the similar terms here are just the middle terms there. Minus 5px is negative 10px. px makes those like terms. Example 2, expand and simplify 4 minus 2m multiplied by 7 plus 3m minus m squared. So now we're going to get to a bit more terms that we're multiplying out. So you need to be really neat when you do these kind of questions, or you can make very careless mistakes and you will be very disappointed if you lose a few marks on the test from silly mistakes on this kind of question. This is one that you should always get right if you are careful. So, multiply every term in the first bracket by every term in the second bracket. That will be a total of 6 multiplications. So we have 4 times 7 is 28. This is where you want to be clear, guys, right? So if you want, you can write these arrows on your test to just be clear, to keep track of what you're multiplying by what. So look, you see I'm going in an orderly manner. I'm multiplying the 4 by everything in the second bracket and then the negative 2m by everything in the second bracket, just to make sure I catch all of the multiplications. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times plus 3m is 12m. 4 times minus m squared is minus 4m squared. And then negative 2m times 7 is negative 14m. Negative 2m times 3m. Just focus on the numbers first. Negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. M times m is m squared. And then negative 2m times minus m squared, the negatives cancel to be a positive, and you just have a 2 here and a 1 here, so it's a 2 here, and m times m squared is m cubed. Now simplify. So note that the final simplified answer is written in standard form. This means that there is a decreasing order of degrees of the variable in the term. You might be looking at my answer here. You don't have to look yet there. Just focus on that I have written this in decreasing order of degrees. You always want to write it like that, okay? Now, we had 2m cubed up here, no other 2m cubed, so I'm going to write 2m cubed here. And then we have negative 4m squared minus 6m squared. That's going to be minus 10m squared. And 12m minus 14m is minus 2m. And then finally, we just have 28 over here. And we'll rewrite it down here because it's, again, in standard form. Example 3. Expand and simplify negative 3r squared minus 2r plus 1 multiplied by 2r minus 5. So this is similar to the last example, except I've stuck a negative in there. But the steps are exactly the same. And I guess in the other one, I also had the binomial as the first bracketed term. But 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2, right? If you want, you could rewrite 2r minus 5 as the first bracketed part, and then multiply that out, you'll get the same thing in the end. But I kept it the same. So multiplying every term in the first bracket by every term in the second. So here, I'm just making sure that I multiply the 2r here by this term, by this term, by this term, and then the negative 5 by this term, by this term, by this term. I'm not really following any order of, any order that you always use. Just make sure you multiply everything in one bracket by everything in the other, and you'll be covered. You'll get the same thing in the end. So, negative 3r squared multiplied by 2r is negative 6r cubed. Negative 2r multiplied by 2r is negative 4r squared. And 1 times 2r is 2r. And then we have negative 3r squared multiplied by negative 5 is positive 15r squared. Negative 2r multiplied by negative 5 is positive 10r. And 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. Collecting the like terms and writing in decreasing order of degrees, we have negative 6r cubed, no other r cubed terms. And feel free on your test or your homework, you can, underline the r squared terms as like terms. You can circle the 2r and the 10r as those being like terms. Anything that helps you out to make sure that you cover every term and you haven't forgot about any. So negative 4r squared plus 15r squared is 11r squared, and 2r plus 10r is 12r, and finally we have our negative 5 that had no other integers up here to add it with. Example 4. Expand and simplify r squared minus 4r plus 2 multiplied by 2r squared plus 5r minus 3. So if you'll notice now this is our first one where we have two trinomials. So you'll sigh a little bit that your teacher actually asked this on a test, and then you'll say, but no big deal, I will just be very careful when I multiply every term in here by every other term in the other. I will be careful collecting my like terms. I'm not going to make a mistake. This is actually an easy question to do. It's just a bit more work than anything we've done so far. It looks, I guess, kind of impressive in the end, your answer, but it's still the same basic steps. And again, more steps, more potential for making mistakes. Please do not make mistakes on these kind of more simple questions that they can ask. So, multiplying every term in the first by every term in the second bracket. And you can see I've brought in a new color here because there's a total of how many multiplications? 9. So we have r squared times 2r squared is 2r to the 4th. R squared times 5r is 5r cubed. R squared times negative 3 is negative 3r squared. Negative 4r times 2r squared is negative 8r cubed. Negative 4r times positive 5r is negative 20r squared. Negative 4r times negative 3 is positive 12r. And finally, 2 times 2r squared is 4r squared, 2 times 5r is 10r, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Again, focus on multiplying just the numbers together first. So this 4r, and say this negative 4r times positive 5r, negative 4 times positive 5 is a negative 20, and then look at the r times the r will be r squared. And collecting like terms, we have 2r to the 4th, no other r to the 4th terms. We have 5r cubed minus 8r cubed is negative 3r cubed. And then we have negative 3r squared minus 20r squared is minus 23r squared, plus 4r squared is minus 19r squared. And then our r terms, we have 12r plus 10r is 22r, and negative 6 just carries down to be negative 6 here. No other integer terms. And we are finally done that example. So that is the end of that lesson. Not too bad, right guys?